I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, July the 26th, brought to you in part by Vigor Tone. Part of being in the cattle business is dealing with things that are out of your control. It comes with the job. But when you feed Vigor Tone Mineral, there's one thing that you can always count on. Peace of mind knowing your cattle are getting the nutrition that they need when they need it. Learn more at vigortone.com. We've got a quiet confidence in your fat cattle arena. It's been working all week long. We've only seen less than 3,000 head of negotiated fat cattle sell in your entire 5-area feeding region, all the way up through Thursday. So we're looking at a big Friday trade. Your packers need cattle. Your feeders know it. They're short of market-ready cattle in the northern plains. That's where they really need them. There's not as many of these high quality, high choice and prime cattle out there as there has been for the last couple of years, and that's what the packers really need to get their hands on. So they're looking to the northern plains to supply that, and so things are setting up pretty well. Heck of it is, box beef cutout values have been kind of fading here, and your packers hate to give up any of that giant margin that they've been comfortably resting on here for it seems like forever, but they don't want to have to give any more money. They're hoping to keep things steady. It's lining up just perfect to gain another buck or two, but we'll just have to see how Friday plays out, what the board does on the open and everything that's going on. But you know, there's things to look at out there. Your index cattle are breaking even. That if you bought some cattle at the index around $1.40, a little bit under that, for right now, you purchase those right now and fed them, you're looking at about a $1.16 break even. That's not going to work too good with your December board. So it's 114 and change. Your February board can get you to come out there, and then you can hope for a little basis, but it's not really worth working all fall for. But you're looking at April, and it's up there at the biggest premium at 119.65. That's why you're seeing guys come into some of these 6-weight cattle all of a sudden, even though they're not yearlings. These 6-weight cattle are kind of your first of your new crop calves. And if you can find those weaned, they're not going to feed anything like those hard green grass yearlings, but more time will give you a little bit more opportunity to cheapen them up and put their finish date off until spring, and then you might have a chance of making a little bit more money. So you're seeing them come in on these 6-weight calves. But you know, you guys that are buying these lighter calves, planning on wintering them and coming out, there's no premium for feeder cattle this spring. So you can't blow your brains out on these lightweight cattle thinking you're going to get them through winter, which may not be much fun. It's looking like it's going to be another cool, damp winter, but you know, there's sure no premium for a big yearling steer coming up this next spring. They're actually cheaper than what they are right now, looking at about $1.40 on them. And I will say, and the inventory report did say that we've got a slightly smaller calf crop this spring or this year here in 2019. Both the calves that are already hitting the ground and the ones that will later on this fall. But and I was surprised to see the USDA report say that, because they've been talking for the last year or two that we were going to continue to be in herd rebuilding. Now we're not there, but it's not going to show up yet. It's not going to show up yet this spring, guys. I think down the road it's going to look good. I think your replacement stock, your replacement quality heifers, your young bred cows are going to be good going into next calendar year. But if you're going to bore into some of these cattle right now, guys, you know, I love to quote those big prices, but I don't necessarily condone them. And you don't forget, if you're buying cattle to either background or feed, you make your money when you buy them. When you sell them, they all bring the same. Let's look at the board on Thursday. August live cattle futures down a quarter at 108.65. October unchanged at 109.90. And like I talked You look out there and for the premiums this spring, February is sitting around $1.18 and April's at $119.65, which doesn't sound too bad. August feeder cattle down just 2 cents, and I tell you what, after your feeder cattle opened up a lot higher on Monday, we've had a little bit of support in there, but they haven't taken any of that back. So it's been pretty good on your feeder cattle board this week. Not real volatile and slowly gaining, but your August contract was down just 2 cents, so that's nothing. 142.80. September was up 35 cents at 143.22. Your fat cattle trade has not happened yet. We haven't seen it. It's been really quiet, scary quiet. When it's this quiet, this late in the week, you know your packers feel like they're in trouble. They haven't been out there cocky, walking around telling the guys, what they're going to do for them and what they're going to end up taking and all that. They need the cattle. They're not going to gloat too much here early in the week. They're going to have to come out on Friday here sometime and start buying some. All your packers are going to need some. And it's a good opportunity to gain some ground here because they haven't got anything bought and they've been killing them like crazy. I tell you what, the change speeds have been great. They're getting rid of these cattle. They're moving the meat. Everything's really going pretty well. But you look at the Northern Plains, they sold just a few cattle here and there. Iowa normally would be half done by this time, this late in the week. They haven't sold hardly anything. They sold around 600 head on that were confirmed for Thursday there. A load at 115.50, and then a few deals at 183 dressed. Here tells some of that was FOB, so that could be a little better than that. Nebraska, a couple loads at 185. So we're kind of up there steady with the top of last week's market, but the Southern Plains. Nobody has any idea what the Southern Plains is going to be. They'd sure like to gain a buck, but who knows if they've got the gumption to get it. Box beef cutout values faded a little bit more on Thursday. Choice cuts $212.57, down $1.03, but it's not down that much compared to last week. But it is kind of fading back a little bit. Selects $189.18, down 24 cents. Your slaughter continues to be aggressive. 479,000 through Thursday. That was 2,000 less than last week, but 10,000 head more than the same week a year ago. Your actual data come in 2 weeks late as always. 865 pounds for your average steer carcass weight. That was up 4 pounds from the previous report, down 2 pounds from the same week before, and 2 pounds lighter than the same time a year ago, and 7 pounds lighter than the 5-year average. Sorry about that. But guys, we need to worry about what's coming up August the 12th, I believe it is your next big crop report for your grains. We don't know what's going on. There's still a lot of people out there that think that between now and harvest, this corn's going to touch $5. That it was a whirlwind deal, the last report that come out. When they were actually out looking at those crops, a lot of them hadn't even been planted yet. They didn't even know where they were at. It come in a lot better than what most people were thinking. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't overcorrect on this next report, because that's classic USDA. But December corn on Thursday closed at 427.5. That doesn't sound too bad. You think, well, maybe we're going to get back in the high threes. I don't know. There's a lot of corn out there that doesn't look very good. Been standing in water at times during the growing period there. It's kind of yellow. Some of it's not going to put any ears on at all. Some of it looks great. Don't get me wrong. But I tell you what, I don't know how wild I'd get on these things until we see what that report's going to do August the 12th. Because your corn market will be pretty true to that, and there's enough play in that if you see volatility in your grains, it's because that's what it needs to be, because there's a lot of play in there, guys. But look at some of your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Thursday sitting at 139.58, up 25 cents from Wednesday's close. So that's pretty encouraging, holding pretty good. And your RTI is a couple bucks better than the latest CME index, but of course it's not weighted down with all those cheap directs. But look at some of your big sales on Thursday. Pratt, Kansas, 3,600 head. Remember, they're going to have 7,000 next week, leading up to that big King of the Ring sale that's also owned by Winters over in Dodge City, Kansas. But it'll be a lot of cattle selling off. Be good grass yearlings, mostly coming off there. But 3,600, I tell you what, that's not too bad. Feeder steers had a higher undertone, but not a good comparison from the previous week, but sure enough, higher undertone. Feeder heifers, $2 to $3 lower, and just a little bit of volatility there. And I don't remember a time when these green grass yearlings, especially in Kansas, there coming off the blue stem out of the Flint Hills and places. Your Pratt's not really there, but it's not far from it. But there's been volatility in there. Usually, you establish a price sometime early in July, and it stays there right through. But this time you hear guys, some guys sold a little bit early and they got a price, and then maybe a week later it was less, and then come back week after that and it was back up. You had different big feedlot buyers running around there. Some of them had quite a bit more money than others, just depending on what day it was. Some guys, that get the cattle every year. Some of them didn't end up getting the cattle this time because there was another buyer out there that was carrying more money, and they just had to go with them. And so you got a little bit of hurt feelings out there. You've got volatility, and it's a little bit different than what it always is, because normally you just establish that price at your different base weights and go from there, and you just sell with whoever your favorite buyer is. But one place it is right there in the Flint Hills, El Dorado, Kansas, and we're now getting information from that sale, as I've told you the last couple of weeks. But El Dorado had 1,700 head, mostly all big yearlings. And I'm going to show you this market report on Cattle Market Central. Don't pay any attention to anything but those big heavyweights from 800 to 1,000 pound steers. That's the only one that was really well tested. And if you look at those steady to $3 higher, pretty much knocks those in the head. But look at this report and look at these the well-tested weight groups on your 8-weight steers at El Dorado, right there in the Flint Hills. 465 head, averaged 852 at 139.04. 308 head of 9-weight steers averaged 930 at 134.22. You go up further north, just north the edge of the Flint Hills there. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas, 3,600 head there. The reporter there called the feeder steers $1 to $3 lower. Feeder heifers $3 to $4 lower. I talked to a guy that was there, and he said, yeah, it did look to be just a little softer than what he was expecting coming in there, except for the few 6-weight steers that they had in there. We talked earlier about why guys would like some 6-weight steers. If we had a true yearling with any quality that was a 6-weight, which you just don't see that, they're bigger than that. So these are weaned calves that you're seeing there. But a few of those 6-weight steers in Salina, $2 to $5 higher, and that was the bright spot there. And I'm going to give you an individual quote we picked up through Cattle Market Central right here. Look at 97 head of 685 pound steers bring $166.50. Wow, that's an impressive quote right there. Mitchell, South Dakota, $5 to $9 higher on 5,200 head. Those farmer feeders up there, your commercial lots up there, they're ready to dive into some cattle. They just haven't been seeing them. But now they're starting to see them, and no problem getting right in there and buying them. But maybe a couple of weeks ago we would have seen that $5 to $9 higher, but that's the biggest uptrend we've seen all week anywhere. Mitchell, South Dakota, 5,200 head. Going to give you a couple of individual quotes there. Look at some 8-weight, 64 head, 826 pound steers bring $155.75. Now, that's not Highway 20. That's on up there into South Dakota, guys. Look at some big cattle, which Mitchell's known for their big backgrounded cattle. 51 head of 1,016 pound steers bring 135.10, and it won't be long on those guys. And that fat market is not going to be anywhere near that buy price, but your cost of gains could be somewhere near what they're going to get when they come. But look at another market. Look at market out east. Bluegrass Stockyards South, Stanford, Kentucky. They had a bunch of good cattle there, a lot of loads in that deal. And Jay Romine, a friend of mine there and the main auctioneer at Bluegrass, he said, be on the lookout here. And one really premier consignment there was they had 5 loads of top quality black heifers from Mac Hewlett. And man, did they sell well. And I asked him, I said, are you sure these weren't replacements, staying local there, a big string of them like that? And he goes, no. He said they were awful nice, but they went on out west. So they will not be replacements. But look at this quote on a big long string of backgrounded heifers right there who've been off the grass. 404 head of them, weighed 635 at 150.80. That's a pretty good quote. Way out there in Kentucky, guys. But you got to go to Highway 20 in northern Nebraska to get the big time quotes this time of year. Valentine, Nebraska on Thursday had 200 head of 794 pound steers, bring 162 1/4, and a load, big load, 60 head of 903 pound steers, bring 152.10. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.